Mr. Bloxham here, I'm just going to show them how to make hot cross buns and cinnamon buns. So this is like bread dough, but it's called bun dough. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put some water in here. But you don't put the water in here and carry it, because then you slop it, you'll burn yourself. So the grill stays in there, then you get the boiling water out the kettle, carry it in the kettle, and then just pull it out a little bit. And then I only have to push it back about a couple of inches. When you're walking with a kettle around the busy kitchen, you need your hand in front of you just in case you're going to bump into somebody. So now I'm going to mix it up. So the first question is what sort of flour for bread making or bun making? So I've got strong flour in here. So strong flour has got a high gluten content of over about 10.5%. So in here, there's some other ingredients. So if you're weighing this up, there's going to be 250 grams of flour. And normally it has sugar and salt in normal bread dough, but this has extra sugar in. So this is going to have 35 grams of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to put some fat in it. So there's some fat in it, that's good. Now I'm going to mix it up by hand, because you might not have a mixer, then I'm going to finish it off on here. Now you need to put a warm liquid in. Now I've got milk, so normally in bread it would be water, but today it's bread. I'm not on to the next question here. Anyway, this is warm milk, right? So if you're using milk powder, then you get the water out the kettle, and it should be lukewarm, a bit like blood temperature, a little bit warmer, but not as hot as a bath. So it'd be warm water, a little bit hotter than blood temperature, but cooler than a bath temperature, a bit cooler than the bath, because the yeast will die because it's alive. So this is milk, and I've warmed it up. It looks a bit this kind of colour. Oh, so I'm going to mix it in here. So the first thing, if it's got fat in it, you'll need to rub it together. So the first thing I'm doing is rubbing it together. So the difference between bread and a bun dough is there's more sugar in it, there's butter in it, and there's spice in it. I don't think that's one of the questions. Maybe I should have put that one in. What temperature should the liquid be? That should be warm. Next one. What 2 reasons to add sugar? So normal bread has sugar in it. There's 2 reasons. One to feed the yeast, and one to help form the crust, because you get the caramelization through the crust. Name 2 different types of yeast. The main types, so you get fresh yeast and you get dried yeast. So we're using dried yeast. There's a whole packet, half a packet of dried yeast in here. So if you're weighing your own up, you need strong flour, salt, sugar, butter or marge, and then yeast, which makes it rise. Next one. 2 types of yeast, fresh yeast and dried yeast. What does it mean by strong flour? That means it's got a high gluten content, over 10.5% gluten, which is the protein in flour. So there's a few little bits there, more than like one answer. What type of raising agent is yeast? It's a biological raising agent. So it's alive, not like you and I, but it's alive. So, and then we're going to put the milk in. Hopefully this is the right amount. I've got some people to measure it. That's soya milk, but normally we'd use normal milk. But we opened it yesterday because I've got one girl that's allergic to normal milk, and so I'm using it up. But normally we just use normal milk. Now, in catering places, they quite often use powdered milk and water. So that's another thing to do, because then you don't have to store loads of it. Next one. Oh, so it's a biological raising agent. So you also get chemical raising agents. This isn't on your paper, but chemical would be bicarbonate of soda or baking powder, because bicarbonate of soda is an alkali and cream of tartar is an acid, and they mix together. You also get a physical raising agent, would be things like choux pastry and puff pastry, right? They're all named after the sciences. Next one. 2 reasons to add salt. So one is for the flavour, but it also controls the yeast. Be careful with these. So now we have to knead it on the table, but I'm going to knead it on the machine after I've showed you how to knead it on the table, because obviously you haven't all got machines, you've only got a limited amount, so pupils are going to knead them by hand. Now this looks a little bit yellow because it's got the fat in it. Oh, and I could have put an egg in it, by the way. I didn't put the egg in it. I should have put the egg in as well, but you don't have to put the egg in. So the egg, I'll tell you what that does in a minute when we get to that question. But you can put egg in it, which has more protein, and it makes it a bit richer. You don't have to put the egg in it, so I missed that out. What does 2 reasons salt? I've said that to control the yeast and add flavour. What does prove mean? So at the moment, this would be quite heavy if I cook this. Proving is when you leave it till it doubles in size. So that's going to be a 2-point question. So we're going to say the other reason is going to make it a lot lighter. Otherwise, you get a very heavy roll. So 1 to double in size. and one to make a nice light roll or bread. How many times do you normally prove the bread? Now normally in a 2-hour lesson we'll prove it twice, but in a single lesson we'll only prove it once because we've only got an hour. So I've got 2 today, so I'm going to let this double in size. So I'm going to knead it now, so for kneading it, all the boys go like this and punch it. That does absolutely nothing. The reason we knead it, which is further down the page, is to actually, it feeds the yeast and it makes it smooth. At the moment it looks rough. If I knead this for about 5 minutes by hand, or put it in the machine, it will go smooth. So as you can see here, it's not smooth yet. So I'm going to put it in the machine, then I can talk to you at the same time and do something else. And it's got a dough hook on here, by the way. Don't use any other mixer, you'll break the machine. This is just mixes it up, and that's for making bread or rolls. Let me give you a couple of other questions where that's mixing up. I'll knock back. So knock back means once it's doubled in size, I knock the air out of it. That's what knock back means, knocking the air out of it. 2 ways to stop a skin forming. So I'm going to let this prove in a minute. I either put a tea towel on it or cling film, or keep it in a steamy environment. There's 3 ways: steamy environment, tea towel over it, or put cling film over it. Otherwise you'll get a skin on it. How will you know when it's proved enough? It'll be double in size. You'll have to guess that bit. Double in size. What 5 shapes did I make? I'm going to do that bit next, so that's why after I proved it. So I'm going to mix this up, and I'm going to let it prove in here with either a tea towel on it or cling film. Thank you. Alright, that's it for now. Thank you. So what we're going to do, how long? That was 6 minutes.